Hi guys, welcome back to the series of UX videos. Thank you very much for tuning in. In today's video, we will talk about user interface design. So once you have, we've already gathered our research, we've already created our personas, we've already created our user stories and all those stuff that we covered in user research. We are now ready to start designing our interface. And a lot of you might be wondering, why are we doing the interface design before we do the back end, before we code the system itself? Well, this is because we want to start with the interface design before we do the back end and the programming, because we want to give users something that they can actually give us feedback on, something that they can actually visualize and give us their thoughts on and be like, I want this, I don't want this, maybe this should have been like this, why did you do this like this and this and this, things like that, so we don't end up in a situation where our users don't actually want the system that we've developed. So we'd want to start with the interface design first before we actually go into designing and coding the entire system. Yeah, so that's basically it. It's useful because it helps users to visually see what is being designed for them. There are three components that make up the user interface, and these are the information design, in which is basically how you group or categorize your information or your content. There's the interaction design, which is basically how you interact with the system that's been provided to you or for you. Do you swipe? Do you type? Do you scroll and things like that? And we also have the visual design, which is basically the look and feel of the entire system. And we will go into a deeper detail into each one of these components, but right now let's just look at the user interface in general. What exactly is an interface? So what exactly is an interface? So an interface is something that sits between the technology and the person using that technology. So as you see it right now while watching this video, your computer screen or like your phone screen or wherever you're watching this from, it's basically the interface between the information that I've put there about user experience and you yourself. So what sits between you and the technology that you're trying to use? It's basically the part that you manipulate to get your system to work. And it's very important because users tend to judge the interface very much, because this is what you're seeing, this is what you guys see. So in a lot of situations, you can have a very amazing system, the back end, with a very poor interface, and your end users won't want to use the system that you've designed because they're going to judge the interface. If your interface is bad, then they're going to assume that the system itself is just as bad. Or sometimes you can have a very great interface with a very poorly designed system, and your users still won't want to use your system, because once they start interacting with that system, they'll see that it's very poorly designed and they can't really get it to do what they wanted to do. This is why at the end of the day, we need to make sure that there is a balance between the user interface and the user experience, which is why we are going through this entire user experience course, to make sure that there is a balance between the two. Now that we have gotten into a brief introduction into the user interface, what it is, we have a bit of an understanding. Let's look at some of the examples of why some interfaces are bad. These are not like designed systems, some are, but like it will just deepen your understanding into like the interface and what to look out for and how you can structure an interface when you actually start doing your interface designs. So here in this picture, we have two signs that say do not enter, and the other one says enter only, and they are all together in one as a one sign. So what this is, it's actually giving a contradictory message to the end user, and this is what we call a strobe effect. It's contradictory to the end user. The end user is unaware as to what's going on. They'll be like, okay, so now I'm here, do I enter, do I not enter, what exactly is going on? So it's giving mixed signals to the end user, and these are some of the things that you might need to, that you will need to avoid when you start designing your system. Make sure that you don't have things like this, do not enter, enter only, or whatever the situation may be, because it confuses the end user. Now the end user has to think hard as to, what do I do now? Do I enter, do I not enter, what's going on? If it's in stock, we have it. So what's going on here is we have a tautology effect, or just a tautology, in which it's basically just saying the same thing in two different ways. So obviously if it's already in stock, then users already know that they have it. So this is basically just giving unnecessary information or overusing words. If they just said in stock, then obviously the users would have known that they have it, but then now it says if it's in stock, then we have it. It's just unnecessary information that's there. It could have been reduced to like very few words, maybe 3 or 4 words, and users would have understood what the designers are trying to say, or the message that's been conveyed by the sign. And now moving on to information overload, an example of a bad interface design. Believe it or not, this apparently is an actual design system, in which I think it's linkscard.com, in which users can hire cars. And yeah, but just looking at the interface that they have designed there, you can see that there's so much going on. The user won't even know where to look, what's going on, what are they trying to convey. And this is actually called information overload. It's too much that the user doesn't even know what's going on. The user cannot even comprehend the information or the message that's been conveyed. And these are some of the things that you might want to that you will want to avoid when you design your system. Some things you might think you need them to be there, but in reality, if you just communicate with your users, you will see that they are very unnecessary. For example, the dog that's placed there at the bottom left, it's a very unnecessary image, because I mean, they are advertising cars, you can hire cars, but then now we have a picture of a dog. Even if it was an ad, there's just so much going on there. We've seen on Google where they place their ads, you can see that this is just an ad, but then with this website or this picture, whatever is going on there, we can see that there's just so much going on there. On your top right there, you can see a chicken. On the other side, you can see, I don't even know where to look. There's just so much going on. And sometimes some websites are just so bad that once you're done using them, you can actually remember them for the rest of your life. That's just how bad the interface is. I hope now you have a bit of an idea as to how you can go about designing the interface of your system, what things you can look out for, what to avoid, what things you can actually include in your system, how you can make sure you can avoid bad interface designs, and that is communicate with your users, put your users at the center of your design. But that's basically it. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you guys found it very useful, and please don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video.